Readiness. I'm here with my final reflection for English 1302. I would like to discuss a few things about like the rhetorical choices, the revision, my inquiry and personal responsibility, and my learning experience throughout all this. So let's get started. So we got a bunch of questions here, so let's kick them all out, shall we? Um, how are the final drafts that you've included in your portfolio to rhetorically appropriate them? So I would think that considering that I did all the work with the rhetorical choice in mind through the revisions and all the final drafts, that well, it would be more appropriate for it to make it so that way it would be appropriate. I mean, due to all the effort that was put into them to make it so that they're rhetorically correct, I would believe that they are, with all the source searching, the sources researching, the constant revisions, all those things like that. I would think that would be the reason why it would be rhetorically appropriate. Um, Next is how's the modularity of your research proposal tailored to a specific audience and form? I would say that my modularity towards like my research proposal is made towards people of the Smash Brothers community. The purpose is to show how the competitive community specifically. Purpose is to show how the feedback works within the community, and the form is through um, it was through a mirror board. It was made through a mirror board, and it was really good as a mirror board. It was really nice. Um, Next, what choices did I make to in my research paper to reflect my knowledge of the purpose, audience, and form? The choices I made was things such as researching different articles to explaining information coming from personal experience, excuse me, explaining the observation that was through the server. I think that's what brought the paper together, because without it, it wouldn't really. Without those choices I made, oh, I'm gonna research it. Oh, I'm gonna look at the servers to make sure that everyone's on the server. What I mean is a Discord server, by the way. I'm gonna make all these choices, and without them, I don't think I would have had the research paper um, overall. So that's what I would answer for that. Finally, for this, how does your understanding of a purpose, audience, and genre align to create a rhetorically effective remix artifact? I suppose that in terms of like my remix artifact, my understanding of the purpose, my audience, and the genre, which has been explained in the previous questions, I think they all came together to make this really good video, this somewhat jokey hotline video that really fits the audience's like my the purpose audience, the audience that I'm pushing towards, right, which is the competitive community for Smash. Um, it would fit into that like stream of videos, like this somewhat like haha meme video. I think that's what really said it, and I think I'm glad that I understood it because I think that it helped out in the end. Now we're on to the revision section. So what are my thoughts on revision after being enrolled in 1301 and 1302? I think that revision is not a bad thing. It's actually quite of a good thing. It helps writers understand why their work needs improvement. I don't think people should be scared of revising, as a matter of fact. I mean, sure, it may suck as a student to receive like, oh wow, look at this feedback I got from a teacher, let's say, and it's like this and this and this. It may be long, but I think that there would be a better product at the end. So that's what you're working for, right? You're working for a better product, and I think that because of that, revision is not as bad as it seemed when I was much more younger. What sources of feedback did I use during the semester? I mostly used was my peers, you, the instructor, my peers, and myself. My peers were really the most useful though, as they gave me an in detail feedback through a paper and corrections on a physical copy of the essay. I thought that was really nice. I took all the feedback and used it really well. So, speaking of feedback and using it well, the next question actually mentions how feedback from my sources to make changes in my drafts. I took all the feedback from people. This is mostly for the essay because I really didn't get much feedback from all the other projects. So, for example, for the essay, I didn't really have my literature review labeled, or I didn't have my paragraphs spaced out enough. So, what I did was I did my adjustments on the next draft, and I did it all in like one day or two, and that's how I adjusted it. I just did little by little, adjusted, see what worked, do the feedback, right? And I think that really helped me out. That really, really helped me out. Next up is my inquiry and personal responsibility section. Very, a very interesting section. How did your positionality influence your inquiry and research question? My position regarding the research question was made through what I wanted to learn and through what would be possible to research through my primary and secondary sources. What I mean by that was that my position, I wanted to learn something about the community that I haven't really delved into much. And I wanted to make the question about something that is possible to look through the multitude of secondary resources, primarily, and what is possible to get out of an observation through a primary research method. That's what I did. What was my personal question to my research question? Connection to it. My personal connection is that it's connected to my interest with the community I decided to research on, the Smash Bros. Competitive community. And while I didn't know a lot about the community, I've been in it for about maybe 5 years. I really didn't really interact with the community for a long time, so like about a year and a half. So it was like a pretty interesting experience to do so, looking through servers and somewhat chatting in the case that I had to. So I thought that was a quite nice of an experience. How did you use the perspectives and other people and research sources and feedback sources in your writing? I used other people's perspectives from my observations through the writing on the essay and connecting the secondary and primary sources and the information to make a single point. For the secondary, it was all about what would go together with the eventual primary research. So my observations were like, oh, what it needs to go towards the writing, and the secondary sources is what would go together with the primary research. In the case of at the end of the revision, like the final drafts, at the beginning it wasn't really like that, but at the final, it was like that. That's what I would say about it. How did you decide which perspectives and sources to include or exclude in your writing and revision? I decided to include or exclude um, on through seeing if they had more interaction with other messages through and that's in my observation. Yes. For an example, that would be someone responding to feedback on a character on the server. Like, let's say they have like this question, like, "Oh, this special move isn't working well," or "Oh, I'm trying to do a combo. Could you teach me how to do it?" And they would ask like a person on the server, right? And they would ask like, "Oh," and maybe he would respond with, "Oh, you can do this and this." Maybe he'll link a video. Maybe he'll just talk about it. And what the other person will do is that the main person who asked would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna respond with another question, or I'm gonna thank you for the insight, or I'm gonna elaborate on what to do, or I'm gonna elaborate on what I did wrong in case he didn't really get my question right." All those sort of things. The more information you had, the more interaction or explanation you had, the more likely I was going to include into my writing. That's the system how I worked as. Finally, in terms of this section of the inquiry and personal responsibility. How might the research and writing you did this semester impact other people? Personally, it really did not. It really did not affect other people, other than the peer that read it and the professor. Um, though, considering that I got a good feedback on my paper and other pieces of work from those two specifically, um, I'd say that it has affected them because they did a good job um, interacting with it. That's how I would put it. In the moments of your experience in this course stand out as the most significant learning experiences. Honestly, it could be the interaction with other people in a physical environment. In the previous class, there was not really a whole lot of interaction, but now I get to hear other people's struggles and success throughout the room, and I can relate to it. So that was probably the nicest thing about it, the experience of like a social environment. I thought that was really, really nice. What did I learn from my mistakes and failures? Well, it's always good to revise and look over to catch your mistakes, so that the next time around you get it done well. Maybe like reading through like the texts that explain what the main idea of like what you did wrong was. That also helped me pretty well too. That's what I would recommend. What did you learn from your successes? Um, I done the work quite well, and that for the reading and for those reading the paper, that done the feedback and gave me feedback, that I done a pretty good job of laying it out and explaining the information to those who really don't understand about what the topic is about. And finally, what do you continue to think as you conclude your first year writing experience? I would think that writing is a complex idea. There's a lot you could do with it, and that isn't just, oh wow, the basic topic question and the body paragraph conclusion. There's much more to it, and I think that's kind of cool. I like that we were able to pick the topic, because when you were able to pick something you're passionate about, I think a lot of people really got that out of it. Because like for most majors, right, they're gonna tell you to write all this type of things. I think it's good to have interest, because like this kind of idea. Oh, for these classes specifically, you can pick an interest and kind of interact, um, or you could research on it, and I think that's a good thing, because they will delve in more into their major, and maybe they'll get more information out of it. Other than that, those are my final reflections towards this whole um, rhetoric and composition classes. I really appreciate all the work that you've done. I like all the insight. So I thank you very much for your time, and I hope you all have whoever is watching this, hope you all have a good day or a good year, good life, I suppose. Thank you very much.